Hi everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the Brownian Notion. I'm Gogol.
And I'm Ananya.
And hippity hop, I'll never be a millionaire. Whoa, boom, boom, and hippity zoom. I'm in love, I'm in love.
First week back in India, right? How is it like? Are you still jet lagged? What's the situation like? How do you feel? Tell us about it.
So, yeah, I moved continents and it just feels weird, I guess. I don't feel like I have moved. Everything feels I'm just tired all the time.
Yeah, also, I feel because of this move, you were under so much pressure that you're just letting the pressure go. And that can also be quite tiring, I feel like finally being able to sleep peacefully. I don't know.
It's also very isolating because I'm quarantining right now, so it's a lot of things. Before we started recording, we were talking about different things and we decided to record about some experiences you had when you moved, some new experiences without giving too much away. Would you like to share that with us today?
Yeah. We were talking about this, and I thought that there are certain experiences that are kind of interesting to share. So, when you're in India, although it's a very big country and people are very different, but it's still kind of homogeneous, right? So,
Yeah.
you don't really think so much about your identity, you don't think so much about who you are. When you are in such an homogeneous environment, you don't really think that, okay, how do people look at me? This was one of my most interesting experiences, and also something that I had to get used to, that
Hmm.
people will stare at me and people will look at me like I am the outsider here. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but what happens is that there are sometimes, like, of course you're interacting with people from everywhere, and like certain scenarios happen, certain circumstances come up where things are kind of in the border. Like, I've been lucky to never really be discriminated because of my race or something like that. But a lot of these experiences that I wanted to share today kind of falls in the border, kind of makes you think, okay, is this the way people look at me? Is this the image that people have about, say, Indians? And then you start understanding, okay, if you do not know somebody personally, right, you try to put them into boxes, and that's the human way to deal with things, I guess. You just think, okay, what do I know about Indians, and maybe this guy falls into that box because that's the easier thing to do. Yeah, so basically there were a lot of experiences that kind of makes you feel, well, is this guy being racist or is my sense of humor broken? So those gray areas are kind of confusing to me, and I felt that those are really interesting stories to discuss on this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from because even though, I mean, USA is not a continent, but it is huge. So when I moved, whenever little things would happen, sometimes depending on where my mood is at, I would just find it hilarious that the person is stupid enough to assume these things. Sometimes I would just laugh, and sometimes I would just be irritated that it's like, if you are trying to get something done and you're very busy and someone makes a comment, you're like, just don't comment, man, like just finish the work or something like that. Like, it's just such a small part of your day, but it's still a little part of your day, is how it would happen to me. Because I have lived in very red states, and for the uninitiated, these are the states which usually have the Republican government or they have Republican representatives. So that's how my experience has been. Like, it has been quite frequent, but I also stopped caring after a while. It was like just part of my day, something like that.
Hmm. Yeah, but it does make you think more about your own identity, right? Because being in India, you never even like think about it. I will tell a story, and I will start with the story which is, in my opinion, the most innocuous, because the person who was doing it was somebody that I considered a friend. So, in my head, this was still kind of a joke, but then a lot of other people around me got offended for me, and then I realized, okay, maybe this is not a very nice thing to do or say. This was in university, and like for 1 year I was in this incubation program where they were teaching us everything to do with startups and how to start a company, basically. And we had like people from all backgrounds, all different backgrounds, and we were taking classes in like marketing and brand building and sales and, like finance, all of these things. And for one of these classes, we were given an exercise where we have to like come up with some project on the fly, and we have to kind of make stuff like a prototype with the stuff that are given to us with no other extra things, and we have to sell it to an audience. It's just about like how to sell. Okay, so me and my team, four of us, we decided we'll make a smart trash can out of all the things that were given to us, right? And then, of course, this was a matter of 2 or 3 hours. We are not actually making a smart trash can, it's about making the pitch. So the thing was, okay, so we made three boxes and we made the fourth one, and we said, okay, if you put something in the fourth one, it gets automatically sorted and the trash goes into the correct bins in the correct way. And the thing is, of course, somebody was pitching, somebody was doing something, somebody was putting the trash, and I was actually sorting them to show in the pitch that what is gonna happen. And I didn't even put much thought into it. But there was a guy who is somebody that I actually consider a friend who raised his hand in the middle of the pitch, and he said, "Oh, your business model is that you'll just get the Indian guy to sort your trash." And everybody laughed. And then I was like, okay, whatever, because I'm used to that.
Hmm.
Like there were other people from other races, like there was an Iranian guy and there was another girl from Indonesia somewhere, and they both got very offended.
Yeah.
And they were like, you cannot say these things. I'm like, it's okay, he's a friend. And then I realized that, maybe it is not okay. I don't know. That's the thing, that these things really confuse me to a place where I don't know if I should be offended,
Hmm.
or is it just about my sense of humor not being good enough to appreciate these jokes.
No, I don't think it is sense of humor, but again, that is again my opinion. Yeah, these are the offensive jokes, obviously. I mean, it's the stereotype you're thinking about, right? Like, I guess if it was about you eating spicy food, you wouldn't even bat an eye, right? But
Yeah.
the comment made was a little.
Yeah, but we are a generation, we have grown up on Simpsons and Family Guy, and the jokes in there, we have all always laughed. At least I have really enjoyed and laughed at those jokes. There are jokes about every community in those shows. So the thing is, when it happens to you, like on a personal level, you kind of think about like how people look at you. I am not very offended by these things. It just makes me think about who I am. Do you know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean because I work in a lab. I have worked in a lab for the last decade.
Mhm.
And this was a newish lab, but I have still been in that lab for like 2 years. And in the lab, it was mostly labs are usually very international.
Mhm.
There were two postdocs in the lab, me and another Indian girl. We are like similar in age. And we were very friendly with the other labs.
Mhm.
And I think someday some machine had broken down, and my colleague was not around.
Right.
The person from the other lab who is white, and she knows us very well. In fact, I was surprised she didn't know our names by then. It was like 2 years already. She came to me and she's like, "Where is the other person?" And I was like, "Oh, which person?" Because there are like five other people. And she said,
Mhm.
"Where is the other Indian girl?" And my brain went to like, "Oh, so to you, we are just the Indian girls." But is that offensive? No.
No, of course not.
She's just identifying me by race.
Right.
But in my head, for a second, I was like, why couldn't you say where is the other postdoc?
Right. Yeah. So we were at a party. They were asking me to give me a recommendation of an Indian restaurant. So I gave them a recommendation. And then they said that they didn't like that place. They have been there before and they didn't like that place. They actually felt sick. Actually, we go there very often. Then this is exactly what I told this guy. I don't know why you felt sick, but we go there a lot. His response to this was, oh, but maybe it's not so bad for Indian people. Then it took me like 2 minutes to realize that he is assuming all my friends are Indian.
Mm,
And I'm like,
yeah.
why did you think
Yeah,
this?
yeah,
Like, I didn't even once mention that my friends are Indian. All I'm saying is
yeah.
that we go there a lot of times and we never fall sick. Like, it's one of our favorite places. So it's similar, like, right? So should I be offended about that? I
No,
don't
I mean
know.
that's just an assumption that person made. Like the first one was I was appalled a little bit. This one I'm like, yeah, I get it.
I wanted to share this because you shared your story, because these are kind of on the similar
Yeah, yeah,
level, I
yeah.
feel.
Like I feel like I don't know if I had to categorize them, and can we really categorize these things? Probably not. But the first one I would say is definitely a microaggression. That is like classic microaggression, as they say. That everyone is laughing at you, but you don't want to laugh at that joke because that was clearly made at your expense. and not in the best way. Like it was not a good assumption about you. But the second one, you're like, okay, fine. You're clearly like, that's what you think about me, kind of.
Why this felt bad for me, the second story, was also because there's a difference in the whole way people hang out in Europe versus what I've heard about US. Because in US mostly Indians stick together, Chinese stick together. In Europe I don't see that happening, and he actively thought that I do that.
Yeah,
And I have no problems with hanging out with Indians, but I don't know why he thought immediately that all my friends that I'm talking about are Indians, and that's why they don't fall sick. There are very little where there are only Indian people hanging out with Indian people, because there are so few of us here,
yeah,
right? So
I didn't know that actually. In fact, that would bother me here because when I was not a student anymore, I really wanted to broaden my horizons. Like I was kind of tired of just being in a small group and just always hanging out with them. I wanted to have like more friends from different
hmm,
places, and that was hard. I realized that it was almost like, as much as it is me not trying hard enough, 50% was also like people had their own groups from their own countries, and
right,
it becomes hard after a while
of course it does, yeah.
because they're always talking in their own language, right? Like, so you can try to be in a conversation, but I guess I tried really hard and I made a friend from Nepal. She listens to the podcast, I know,
Nice.
and I enjoy her momos so much, and I miss them now. But yeah,
Momos for the uninitiated are Nepalese dumplings. They
yeah,
are
they're
awesome.
amazing. They are just
Yeah.
the dream. I
Yes.
remember one more incident, which also again I cannot categorize because it didn't happen to me. But this is one of the first incidents I heard when I came to USA. The person who picked me up, when she picked me up, she said, remember that small things will happen to you. I'm just telling you this as someone who has been here for a while to someone who has just gotten here. Don't let these things bother you. And I was like what things? So she said, oh, yesterday I had to go to the what do you call it, the accounting services office, and she was probably waiting in line for a long time, and eventually when her turn came, this person tried to chit chat with her, and she said, oh, Indian, and she said, yeah, I'm from India. And then the person said, so you must be in a hurry to settle down, right?
Yeah. Oh my God.
He
Exact.
was like,
So
I am just here to like fix my paycheck. I didn't need this right now. But she said, did I say anything? No, she just said, oh, I don't know about my future plans yet or something. That's it.
this reminds me of a story. Bana knows this because I went to meet her and Peter right after this happened, I think. We were at a dinner. This person, she got drunk, okay, and she was trying to do a back and forth with me. I don't know why. And she was asking me like my backstory, why I was in Vienna and stuff like that. And then I told her, like I went to Germany and then I didn't like it there so much. So I was doing this Erasmus program and then I came to Vienna and I decided to stay back. And then she said something like, oh, why did you decide to leave home? I was like, because I don't know, it was an adventure. I wanted to visit new places, meet new people, have new experiences, and learn about new cultures and stuff. And then she said something like, and you love being a refugee. I'm like, wait, I'm not a refugee. I mean, she was very drunk.
Not that there is anything wrong with it, but it is just huge wrong assumption.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not a refugee. I have a place to go back to. My hometown, thankfully, has not been destroyed by war or environmental pollution yet. But I don't know why you think I'm a refugee. And she's like, no, but you moved here to settle down, right? I'm like, no, that's not true at all.
Yeah. You don't know where life will take you. How can you come to a place and be like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna be here, that's it?
exactly. And I got so annoyed by this that I was like thinking about this the whole night.
Yeah.
I was like, at some point, is she flirting with me or is she just being mean for the sake of it,
That is
Like,
really toxic flirtation, and I hope you didn't reciprocate to that because,
I don't know. I was very confused. That's what I'm telling. Whenever I get into these situations, I get very confused about how to react to them.
yeah,
I'm like, is she being mean to me on purpose or is it like, oh, haha, I'm just being like,
yeah,
I don't know, flirtatious with you?
yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to share three stories. Now I have four. The fourth one is the most difficult one. I'm literally sighing. I don't know how you'll react to it, but it's the worst thing that someone has ever told me. I think ever in life.
Okay.
Uh,
So I'm
so
already like bracing myself.
yeah, so this was the first party that we went to. And then at that point, there was this like huge outrage about one photographer, I think Italian photographer, who went to India and went into like really poor places, like really places where people are not getting any food. And she clicked pictures, and people were like outraged because this was mostly done as a poverty porn. Yeah. So all of her pictures, there were like really hungry people who couldn't eat. And in front of them, she put like platters of food, and she was taking pictures of their reaction over the food.
Oh my god.
Yes, and I was discussing this with some guy. I was not talking to the guy who made the comment that I'm gonna talk about, but I was talking about this with some other guy. And this guy overhears, right? And he tells me, oh, well, if she went to India, then what happened afterwards? I'm pretty sure she must have been assaulted, right?
What?
I'm like, what are you talking about? What exactly are you saying? And he's laughing about this. He said this and he's laughing.
That made me vomit a little in my mouth. No offense.
This makes you think.
Yeah.
I kind of really started believing that this is how Europeans think about Indians in a general sense. I'm not talking about
Yeah.
educated Europeans like who go to universities and live a cosmopolitan life. I'm talking about really like the average Joe here really thinks like that.
I mean, think about it this way, that if India, which is a pretty well known country, almost every other person who I have met internationally knows what India is.
Yeah,
Think about it in a way that what if they were talking about a smaller country, relatively, basically?
yeah.
When what other assumptions do they even have? I don't know. Because this is like this just absolute garbage assumption you're making. It's like offensive on different levels. It's like if you want to hit all the offensive spots.
Yes.
This person has hit like 4 or 5 spots right there. So
Yeah, so I don't know how to categorize these things because I don't think they're racism. It's just that these people are unfortunately not educated properly. Like,
I don't know. The first and the last one, I would not say it's not racism. It's definitely racism. It's just probably, I guess, it's not affecting you on a daily life. Like, right? Like, the comments made by this person has not changed your life. It's not like you are being beaten up or something. I guess that's what you're trying to say, right?
because racism is a very serious topic. I do not lightly associate things with racism. So for me, racism
Hmm.
comes into picture when people are actively discriminating against me because of my race, or I don't know, making me feel bad on a day-to-day basis. Because I could say 4 incidents out of 5 years that I've lived in Europe, So
Hmm.
I don't think that on a day-to-day basis there is much racism that at least I faced.
Hmm.
I mean, if you go to Calcutta, for example, people are extremely racist towards the black people who come to Calcutta to work.
Oh, yeah, 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 absolutely. Like they constantly stare and yeah. Yeah, I guess I associate racism as any kind of assumption based made on race, but like you said, there has not been any discrimination because of the statements made in any of these
Right.
instances.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that we should draw a line. I think the line is somewhere blurred a long time ago. I feel that drawing the line makes no difference. It doesn't change society whatsoever. If I say, okay, this is offensive, you are racist, I will not talk to you, go to hell, I don't want to work with you, then it doesn't help him understand that not all Indian people are racist, or not racist, but rapists in general.
Hmm.
Because this guy doesn't know probably any other Indian guy. I have to be the example, and I feel that pressure all the time that I have to kind of not be the typical Indian guy sometimes. I know it's very weird to think about it
Yeah.
this way, but this is how I look at it, because drawing that line doesn't help anybody. You're just like telling him, okay, you're a racist, go fuck yourself.
No, there I understand that you are the only Indian person there, and yeah, it's sad that your actions will reflect for him actions of every Indian, which is such a huge
Exactly.
responsibility if you think about
Exactly.
it. And without any nuance, if I have to say it, white people don't have that pressure, I guess. We just end up having it. Like as a woman scientist, sometimes I'm like, oh God, like I have to answer all the questions, otherwise I am a terrible woman scientist. No. If I can't answer questions, I'm just a terrible scientist, maybe in that moment. That's it. Not even a terrible scientist. I'm just having a bad day. Like, why am I putting all this pressure on myself? But sometimes that's just how it is when you are in a certain box. In other countries, you just become a box, sadly. I mean, it's not like your life is constantly sad, but Yeah, unfortunately, you're in a box unless you look like other people, I guess.
I'm not trying to justify any of these actions. I'm just trying to say that there are other sides of the story that we do not understand. And it's very easy to draw a line and say, you're wrong, I'm right. And I don't know, take the moral high ground all the time. But that doesn't help us. We have to understand the other side and humanize them to figure out why there is this divide. I feel, this is my opinion again.
But my point is, it also helps to explain. I mean, I remember this is a very stupid example and it's a very small scale example, but there was this person I worked with for like 6, 7 years, and he was a much older person, much older scientist, American, white. Whenever some Indian person would move into like the department, no, not move into the department, like get hired by the department. It was a huge department, at least 200 to 300 people. He would come to me and be like, this person, something, some person from India. Do you know them? I'm
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
no. After 6, I was like, Doctor So and So, you realize we have a population of a
Exactly.
billion.
1.3
And he was
billion people, and they still expect us to
right,
know
right.
everybody. I don't know how.
Yes. And I understand maybe they think that, like you said, we have a common place where I don't know, are we onboarding people? Not really. People apply independently and come into the huge country. And I understand he's probably thinking that, oh, it's like such a small part of the whole thing. Maybe she knows them. But no, even Indians in just a small university have so many groups. Like it's not one Indian group.
Right.
No, almost
Yeah.
never. So yeah.
We are almost out of time. So, yeah, let's move on to the next section. Do you have something to recommend?
So I started reading these really easy books because I wanted to read so desperately. I have not been reading. It's
Mm-hmm.
horrible. This I found it on TikTok. There was this person who was recommending books to get out of a
Mm-hmm.
slump, and one of them is called Good Girl's Guide to Murder. At first, when I looked at it, I was like, I am not 13 anymore. But then I was like, okay, what the hell? No one has to know. And I am literally announcing it to the world. But it was shockingly good. Like, it is this young adult mystery book. It's shockingly good. Very tight, which is what I liked. Under 300 pages, more or less.
Yeah.
You will finish it in 2 days. So if you're in like this terrible reading slump like me that you cannot bring yourself to read anything,
Right.
you can read this series by,
Yeah.
I want to say, Holly Jackson, I think is her name.
What, Jackson?
Holly Jackson.
I see. Okay.
And she makes like there are like subtle commentaries about certain things which I didn't expect from a young adult book, really.
I just wanted to add one thing because I don't know why I thought about this. So I really like whiskey, right? I really like whiskey, and I follow this whiskey club where they talk about different whiskeys, and I really enjoy watching these videos. And there is a Facebook group, and they all the time they use this one liner that I think also goes for books as well. So what they say is the best whiskey is the one that you like to drink, and I think the best book is the one you like to read. There is no
Yeah.
good book, bad book, pulpy book. It's all good. There shouldn't be a judgment about it. So
Yeah, that's true. No, that's why when I finished the book, I actually, for a second, I was like, why don't I read a more mature book now? And then I was like,
nah,
why don't I just read the sequel?
yeah, you should.
I just downloaded the sequel. So,
You should. I have one recommendation as well for this week, and this recommendation is a second generation recommendation because it was recommended to me by Bana and Peter. So I'm, of course, talking about Avatar, the animated series. It's so good. I genuinely do not like watching animated stuff. That's a discussion for another day. But I genuinely do not enjoy watching animated stuff, and I just started watching this because they both recommended this to me so highly, and I got so inspired that I was like, okay, I have to at least check this out. And it's so good. It's just amazing, and I cannot stop watching it. I'm like, I was watching it some days till like 4 o'clock in the morning, and yeah, and trying to
wow.
get to work after that. But anyway, so that is my recommendation. If you have a little bit of free time and you do not know what new series to start watching, this is an old series from 2005 or 6 or something like that. Go watch it. It's amazing.
To pile on to that, speaking of animated stuff that even I didn't really enjoy before, I'm sure this is a very old recommendation because people must have watched it by now. But if you haven't watched Encanto, and you will, I don't know, it made me cry. I maybe it's the isolation,
Hmm.
but it is such a good movie. I didn't expect it to be good. I thought it's just a movie. Everyone is watching it. It has good songs. That's it. But it's a it's a really good movie. Like it will
Nice.
make you feel very it's very nice and fuzzy, but it also makes you think, which I liked.
And this is an old movie?
No, no, it's a new
Ah,
movie.
okay.
It came out
Okay.
Thanksgiving of 2021.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. I will check it out. Those are lovely recommendations, I guess. So we'll of course put everything in the show notes. Do check them out. I take a lot of time to write them. Go check them out. Uh, having said that, this was a very weird discussion, I guess. I don't know how to feel about it. Hope you like it.
Yeah.
Hope you.
Yeah, and if you have similar stories, micro or major aggressions, or not even aggressions, just stupid statements that people have made to you, please share them with us. We will read them out, unless they're extremely inappropriate.
Yes,
But we will,
we will probably read them out and make an episode
yeah,
out of it. And do let
yeah,
us know how you like this weird thing that we tried, because we are trying to experiment with different tonalities, different styles, different topics in this podcast. So do let us know if you like this, and hope to see you next week. Ciao.
bye.